And now we begin with the Q&A. Please explain which detail of schar v'einish is Chassidus not ba'ad. And how does that fit with the fact that it's one of the Yud Gimel Ikrim? Behemshich to the Shabbos Drosha, those that don't know. Is Chassidus not ba'ad? Is a Rambam? I forgot to read the Rambam. Is a Rambam over here? Mado? On the page. Mado? What's the Rambam? Oh, that's a Rambam, Mado. Oh yeah, sure. All right. So, as we know, the Rambam is the one that came up with the whole. The Rambam is the one that came up with the whole concept of schar v'einish. He's the one. He didn't come up. He's the one that made it an ikar b'amun. He's the one that said it's a foundation in amun. Yet the Rambam himself says. The Rambam himself writes in Hilchas Tshuva Perek Yud and Halacha Hey, Kol ha'isik b'Torah kedei lekabel schar kedei shaloi latagi alav puranus. Whoever learns Torah and does mitzvahs, pastors, in order to get schar or not to get einish, ha'is ha'isik shaloi lishma. That's considered shaloi lishma. That means the whole Perek Yud is on and on about this topic of Perek Yud of Hilchas Tshuva. So the Rambam himself is telling us that although it's a fundamental belief that schar v'einish, you can pass it back wherever that was. It's a fundamental belief and it's important, but yet it's not the tachlis hakavana. Tachlis hakavana is to serve Hashem Tishma, which means not because you want to get a reward and not because you're afraid to get a punishment. Not that it's not true, but that's the tachlis hakavana. So for example, now there are certain bachrim that are learning and there are certain bachrim that are out to make money. They're busy doing whatever they can get the checks on there and get their money for. So you look at the two bachrim sitting and learning, one is learning for the checks and for the money, and the Bacha came to my office and he wanted to get even more money. It made me crazy for a while, and I gave in, don't blush. But so is that wrong? It's not wrong. This Bacha is on a madrig where he's holding right now, that for him, when he has money, to give him more chayas. So he's saying he doesn't care, do it anyway, but we know that when you get a prize, and you do better. But it's childish. It's not the way it's supposed to be. Darkei Achsidus is meant to deal with higher things. Darkei Achsidus is trying to pick us up that we shouldn't need the reward and the punishments in order for us to serve Hashem. It wants us to be past that. It says, I forget the halarichas. He is emotional, but the point is that for you to use Chassidus to fix your bad midas, remember the emotional episode, it's like using something very good for something very simple. A golden broom to tie on the floor, to take a golden piece of gold and use it to clean up the garbage from the floor. So Chassidus is gold, and to use it and destroying it, getting rid of your bad midas is important. Schar v'einish is important, it's fundamental, and if it's the only way you can serve Hashem is by schar v'einish, then definitely you have to. And Chassidus does say that, and Chassidus says it in different places that you have to use schar v'einish as an encouragement, but that's only if you need to. So the reason why I think most mashpim and Chassidus Bechlal it doesn't talk about it so much is because they're trying to be above that. They're trying to be a step above that we don't need schar v'einish to help us out. We're talking about a Fruma Yid that serves Hashem already, and he knows he's going to get Gan Eden, he's afraid to get Gehenna, and now B'nai Selazeh, he wants to have a feeling, he wants to have the head of the Likus, he wants to have a feel a shtickle, geschmack in Yiddishkeit, not just because of schar v'einish. That's what Chassidus is coming to do, and therefore it's not negative any part. It's not bad any of it. It's completely bad 100%. It's just a step above that. It's like an older bacher that is learning a Tosfos, and the other bacher sitting next to him is sitting and writing dishes to get another $1. So the older bacher looks at him and he says, "Negative." He's not negative. Very nice. Very good for you. But the older bacher looks at him and says, "Whatever. So you're a child. You'll grow up and you learn to learn Tosfos." So that's the way Chassidus looks at schar v'einish. But if the older bacher is in a bad situation and he feels I need to get a prize right now to make myself learn, then he'll go and find himself a prize somehow if whatever comes up. There are mitzvahs today for older people also. There are mitzvahs for married people to learn, and they get stipends, they get different things, they get tests. There's things like that, and some people sign up for it just as a push for them to make themselves learn. They know it's childish. They know it's not the ideal. I shouldn't be learning for a prize. But I know myself that if I have a prize, I'll learn better. Even though it's a stupid prize, it can be $10 when you come on. $10 is nothing, but also. But it's the point that I have some kind of extra push. But ideally, it's not. So that's the way I understand why it wasn't so spoken about. That since today a lot of us are on a lower level, just like we need prizes and things like that. So obviously, talking about Gan Eden, would also make sense.
So what's the difference between a kaila and a mitzvah?
A koilel is not meant to give you a prize. It's meant to pay your minimum bills. All koilel you like, they're not getting prizes. They're suffering. They don't have enough money to buy yogurts. They're struggling. But just to cover the minimum bills. But that the koilel wife has to work and support the family. Can we have color word this summer? The shluchim will help out. We're gonna have Uzziah, Weinstein, and Yisrael Benson will be captains. And Menachem Isaac is going to be the judge. No. Can we have a yeshiva all-star game? Like really, with coaches and votes, who can be in? Oh, God. Maybe by the banquet we'll discuss it. See, for both things, we'll try to make it happen. If my roommate is hiding mashke, what should I do with it? It. What is it? Is it the mashke or is it the knowledge? If your roommate is hiding mashke and he's a bocher that's not alcoholic and doesn't drink on a daily basis, he just holds it for farbrengens or once in a blue moon. If you guys get together, then you should not do anything about it. You may want to talk to him and tell him you think it's wrong, but I would not suggest you do that either. A bocher, the only time you're supposed to tell another bocher if you really care for him and you think what he's doing is dangerous for himself. Dangerous begashmis, dangerous beruchnis. Have a little mashke is not healthy, it's not dark yachsidis, it's not the right thing, but it's not dangerous as far as I understand. Not begashmis beruchnis. Someone that gets into the habit that he drinks once a week, every once a week he sits down and has a cup or two of mashke, that's a very unhealthy behavior. And that's an issue. In that case, when it comes to reporting, the first person to go to is the shliach, and ask the shliach what kind of help can be done, what do you think I should do over here? And then let the shliach guide you weiter. Good luck to the shluchim.
I'm available after my
for the mashke. That's another thing, yeah, you give the mashke to the shluchim. The dinosaurs exist before the mabul. Maybe the reason why scientists think that they existed millions of years ago is because the ground and all of the dinosaur bones were aged by the mabul's water. If they did exist, why were they not brought into the table? All right, so this is a heavy question. So in short, there's fossils that they found of dinosaur bones, which some of them mamish put together all skeleton. Many dinosaur pictures that you see today are that they found one little tooth, and they say that belongs to a dinosaur this big and this color, and he ate vegetables, and he swam. They have all these bubmeises based on one tooth that they found, which is ridiculous, obviously. But there are some large amount of bones which seem to be some kind of creature which we do not have today. So, what's the story about that? So the Rebbe has an answer, which a lot of people think is like a very strange answer, but the Rebbe stands strongly behind his answer. And the Rebbe says, the Eibusher created the world. The Eibusher created living creatures. The Eibusher created Adam and Chava and all the animals. Maybe the Eibusher created bones as well. Why not? Why would he create bones? Why did he create lizards? Why did he create frogs? Why did he create the fireflies? You can ask any living creature. You can ask. Why did he create stones? Why did he create mountains? You can ask the question on anything. And the Rebbe says we have no proof to say that there were living creatures before. Maybe Hashem created these fossils. Why? We don't know anything why. So when you heard the answer, it sounds very strange. But the more you think about it, the more nothing makes sense in B'riyas Ha'olam. So that's one answer the Rebbe says. Regarding the mabul, definitely a lot of Mefarshim want to say that indeed the dinosaurs existed before and the mabul wiped them out. Why did Noach not bring them into the teva? So according to those that he did not bring them in, if we say that they existed, and they existed before the mabul, and they were not in the teva, so according to that, so some people say that there was the Re'emim. The Re'emim were huge creatures, which also we don't know what they are exactly today. And these Re'emim, so there's an opinion that says they were in the teva and outside the teva. So it could be they were partially too big to fit into the teva, and therefore they were left right outside the teva. Another pirush I saw they bring from the Malbim. The Malbim says that huge creatures that existed before were terrible for the creation, for mankind, humanity, and therefore the Eibusher told Noach, don't bring that in because that's not going to help the continuation of the world the way I want it to be. So let them be destroyed. Then there's a svara that maybe Taka brought them into the Malbim, into the table. We don't have them today, so there are other creatures. Yeah, there's a dodo bird. There's other kind of creatures that l'chayra are extinct today. So maybe they came in and now they're not there. Or we can say that they're still around somewhere. Maybe someone will find dinosaurs one day. People like to say that the whole globe was everything was found, but b'chlal avdavka. I really doubt there's actual dinosaurs anywhere today, but there's another interesting thing that one of the Mefarshim say about the Teva, which is that he says that Bechlal, if you ever went to a zoo, there are many different types of animals, many types of birds. Al Pi Teva, if you count the size of the Teva of Noach, the Teva of Noach was way too small to fit in every single creature, every single animal that's there. Every single type of lion, type of tiger, type of leopard. There's so many different types out there. Dogs, cats, big, small. There's so many. So how is it possible that Noach had enough room in the Teva for everything? So therefore, some Mefarshim say that really all the different species that we have today are all really subspecies from an original animal. Just like lahavdil by human beings. Yeah, we have weiße, schwarze, gelder, tall, short, fat. You have many different types. Chinese, Asian. You have all over the world. You come from Adam and Chava. What happened? Over time, they moved to different countries. The famous story of Hillel HaZaken, that the Chinese with their eyes like this, and the Africans with the fat feet. He explains that because of circumstances, so their bodies changed and evolved according to where they were. So Hashem made it that way. They should be able to protect themselves. So just like that, by animals also, there are animals that come from the same, what's it called, the father species, whatever the word is, and from that comes out the subspecies. So one of the Mefarshim say that Noach, he knew what the original species was, and he only took the original lion, the original goat, the original sheep. It's actually not far from here, there's a place that's half far away from here, they have a few cows that they claim that those are the original cows. He says, no, that's the original source, the way the original cows were. According to the DNA and testing, whatever it might be. So Al Pi Zeh, Yesh Loimar Ulai, that also the dinosaurs there, according to them, there's also hundreds, maybe thousands of species of dinosaurs. So maybe a certain ones of them Mitaka brought in, and after the Mabel, they didn't develop properly and they became extinct. Svartis and Svartis, we're not going to know till Mashiach comes and tells us exactly what happened. Find the Aveda Viskafia and Deir Ashvi. It's the same Viskafia that was in Deir Rishon and all the Deirs. The difference in the Aveda Viskafia today and the past is depending on the type of people that we are. Today, in the past, people were stronger. So in the past, in Chabad, you were not allowed to eat before davening. And even to drink before davening, which according to halakha is a lot easier, many chassidim did not drink before davening, and there were chassidim that got a special header from the Rebbe Rashab to drink before davening. But Bechlal, they didn't drink before davening. Today we're weaker, so today it's a minik chassidim to eat before davening. There was a chas, I think his name was Zal Malid Bestulin, or am I mixing up with somebody else? I forget. No, I'm sorry. Belanitsky, no? So he used to daven with the Tkuf, he had to daven with a minyan. He was told by the Rebbe Rashab he had to daven with it was a longer minyan, but there were chassidim that because of health reasons, they weren't able to do certain things which other chassidim did. So the Aveda didn't change. The Aveda V'skaf is the same Aveda that it always was. Anything which you do not need for your health, anything which is extra for you, you should not have, and whatever you do need, you shouldn't do it l'shem type. You should do it l'shem shamayim. So there's a Nissan Naaman that was famously used to fabring about the fact that Bachram would put butter on their bread. So in the past, Chassidim would fabring about and actually do that. They would have a piece of bread and then have a spoon of butter and eat the butter plain and eat the bread plain. Because you need the nutrients, the protein of the butter, and you need the carbs, whatever, of the bread. So you have to have both of them. But why put it together and make it taste good? So therefore, they eat the bread separately and the butter separately. So Reb Nissim would fabring about that in today's generation as well. So when he was in Yechidus one time, they said that the Rebbe told him, he came out himself and he fabringed and he said that the Rebbe told him today's Bachrim are too weak for that. Today's Bachrim can't handle that. A Bachrim today eats bread separately and butter separately, he's going to be grossed out. He won't be able to stomach it down and it won't be healthy. So he told the Bachrim, so the Rebbe said, today you're allowed to have butter on bread. But it doesn't mean that you have to cover the butter every last piece of bread. You can't leave a muk and pani without butter. I'm saying you put the butter on. To go mamish, go crazy, put every last piece. And that's what Pshat and that as far as I know, that didn't change till today. Today also, you can have a piece of bread and you can put the cheese on it. It doesn't have to be covered every last piece. You can eat it so some parts of it don't have to be. That's very good. Very nice. So the Iskafi is the same. Whatever you don't need. So they say in Lubavitch there was on Friday afternoon the Bachrim didn't have Seder, so there was a lake over there. So the Chassidish Bachrim, they wanted to sit and learn and daven Friday afternoon. They don't want to go stop swimming in the lake. And in the past, before Mifzoim, that was the Seder no Chabad Yeshivas. Friday afternoon was time for swimming or activities. I heard that the Mashpim and the Lubavitch would force the Chassidish Bachrim to go swimming because you have to go Brias Haguf. So if you're doing it because the Mashpia said it, you're doing it as an Avodah L'Shem Shamayim. So the Avodah V'Skafia was and is the same thing. Whatever you must have for your Brius Aguf, you should not do, and whatever you must have, you do the minimum amount. Many years ago, there was a Chavrusa of Bachram here. There was gym one day. That time we had a set time for gym, and they went to gym, and I saw 20 minutes later they were back in Zal learning. So I asked them, why are you guys, did you go to gym? So they said, we needed for 20 minutes, we finished our game, and now we're ready to continue learning. That's the way it's supposed to be. Sometimes you feel you have to do something, you have to let out some energy, but you don't have to do it the whole complete hour of the gym, it's a chas v'shalom to leave 5 minutes early. That's such a skafia, that whatever you need, you do, whatever, l'shem shamayim, and whatever you don't need, you don't. It's the same as guys. Again, the difference is only in the gufim that we have. Today our bodies are weaker, so we need more things. Some of us need to let out more energy. Some we need to eat more food. Many of us have to eat better food. If you don't eat such good food, many of us won't handle it. Shlomo Chaim Kesselman has a story in his book. There's a story, and there was a bacher that confided in him that he doesn't add sugar to his tea. He drinks tea without sugar, but he says, I can't handle it, and every time I drink it, mamish, I'm about to throw up, and I'm doing a skafia. So Shlomo Chaim told him, put in sugar to your tea. Shlomo Chaim was the champion of Iskafia. Shlomo Chaim told him that Iskafia doesn't mean to torture yourself. It means it shouldn't be geschmack, but if it's torture for you to drink the tea without sugar, then add the sugar. You'll do Iskafia in other ways. Don't put 2 spoons of sugar, 1 spoon of sugar, but half a spoon of sugar. Shlomo Chaim, I think, also used to tell Bachrim to Iskafia not to completely deny your food. Like to say, okay, I'm not eating this food anymore. No more potato chips. Said, don't make such a achlata, because once you do that, then then there's no more potato. It's not Iskafia anymore. Or you should eat potato chips, so once in a while, today I'm not eating it. That's a skafia. Or you eat it, but I'm pushing it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So it's the same avodah of a skafia. The question is what you need, and now you have to be honest with yourself. If you don't know, you have to ask your doctor, you have to ask someone that knows nutrition. And that's the skafia didn't change at all. Any tips on how to be friendly with another Siddush Bacher that has very, underlined twice, different ashkafis on various different Chassidish enyonim than what I believe. For example, V'niflinu, Chabad, Eshmitz Chabad, Mashiach, priorities of life. Any tips? So first of all, if the thing is only differences and opinions about ashkafis, but there are people that they like to argue, they have to do dafka against. I was just speaking to a therapist recently. He was telling me about a certain types of bachrim. It's called ODD, oppositional defiant disorder. There are people that they get a kick out of going against everybody else. And after he told me, he reminded me that a certain bacher that I was told by his parents that he's ODD, I never know what it was b'chlal. But then I realized this bacher, guys, I shouldn't be saying it because some bachers will remember him maybe. But basically, this bacher used to argue about the weirdest things. He would say, when everyone, like the Coca-Cola is the healthiest drink, he would say such crazy things that everyone knows. Yeah, you drink Coca-Cola, you don't drink Coca-Cola, you know that's not healthy. Or smoking is very healthy. Things like that. And everyone was arguing. If you remember? Remember, I can see light already. He says that you have to eat raw meat after. You can't eat cooked meat. It's not healthy. Only raw meat. So it's people that get. Also remember. Okay. I didn't want to say the meat one because that was the famous one. Do you remember that one also? The smoking, I remember. There are people that they enjoy arguing. That's what they get a kick out. They don't enjoy when you agree with them. It doesn't make their day. If everyone is going to say one, it's no seichel. It's a disorder. It's a disorder which makes no sense. They like when everyone goes against them. So if that's the issue with this bacher that you're talking about, then to be friendly with him is by continue to arguing with him. You'll make his day because that's what he wants. You say no, that makes sense. And when you say what he says that makes no sense, you made his day because you see, you disagree with me, right? But it's a disorder, and I don't know. I'm not a professional to diagnose who has it and doesn't have it, so I can't tell you. But if the bacher is a normal bacher, and the raya would be if he gets along with other people. He says you can have Reuven and Shimon versus Levi and Yehuda. Reuven and Shimon think so and so about Mashiach and Shmitz Chabad, and Levi think so and so. But Reuven and Shimon get along with themselves, and Levi get along with themselves, then it's okay. This bacher that I mentioned before didn't get along with anybody. Argued with everybody. Any person that says something, you have to find what to argue with. But if you have someone, the guy gets along with other people, then it's not a problem. How do you get along with him? You disagree? Okay, no.
You had a friend that were like it.
Whatever. Okay, no, I can look at it. I can tell you afterwards. There's a story with Rabbi Shmuel Lu. Shmuel Lu has a story, I forget the details, I read it recently, that there was a Rav he's a Shliach in England. There was a Rav in England that was very against Miu Yehudi. The Rebbe is one of the Rebbe's biggest Muhammad's is Miu Yehudi. In short, whoever doesn't know that the Israeli government, in order to become Jewish, the Israeli government allows to get converted through a reform conversion, which is obviously not according to halakha, and it leads to terrible problems. The Rebbe spoke about it probably more than anything else the Rebbe spoke about. And the Rebbe asked the Rabbanim to get involved and help change the law. So there was one Rav in England that was Dafka against it. Dafka is not a big deal, it's no problem, on and on and on. I don't know, it doesn't say his name when I read it. I think it was in the encounters. So Rabbi Lu, he came to the Rebbe and he asked the Rebbe what to do with this guy. What to do with this rabbi, how to fight him, how to prove him, how to get him back, how to somehow do something. So I'm not being medayik now, I don't remember the protein, but the punchline the Rebbe told him was, the Rebbe asked him, in the other 612 mitzvahs, he does agree with us? He agrees with what we have to say? Yeah, he's a rabbi, he's a frum yid. So the Rebbe says, so focus on the 612 and try to build up with that and leave this one alone. And Rabbi Lu said that it was a very big eye-opener for him in the concept of Ahavas Yisrael, but the point he's trying to say is that, of course there are things we disagree on, but let's focus on, we both agree that you don't have to put on tefillin, so get him on board, help him, try to get him to help you put on tefillin with other yid. So you want to get friendly with someone that's very different ashkafas on various different chassidische inyanim, but certain things he agrees with you. You both agree you have to learn Chidas Harambam every day, so make a chavrusa to learn Chidas Harambam. You agree you have to learn the Rebbe Sichos, so learn the Rebbe Sichos. You have to get involved in Mitzvah. Whatever you find what to agree upon, work together with that, and avoid those subjects. Avoid those subjects. Don't try to make it. Don't try to make a big deal about them to prove them. You guys know opinions, and that's it. Another thing is another idea. I forget who told this to me. They told me that they were Bachrim in 770 that were late at night. They were looking for activities. Yeah, sleeping is not one of them, but they were looking for activities. So they decided that what they did was they took a topic, any of these noisim, and they started arguing. Okay, you're going to say so and so and so. Try to prove. And they went on like for 20 minutes, half hour, each one saying, and then in the middle of the conversation, now we switched teams. Now what I was saying till now, I'm going to prove wrong, and what you're saying till now, you're going to prove the opposite. And next exercise to try this. So this could be, if you're lightheaded, if you're a good guy, you know, if you could handle such a thing, and tell the B'chevreman, okay, let's spend now half an hour arguing. I'm going to say what you always say, and you say I'm going to always say. But try to do convincing. Don't try to say it and prove it wrong as you're saying it. That's, you're not being honest. Try to explain why Dafka, this is the right derech, and old quotes, and try to say convincingly v'chulu. A lot of times that's a little bit of an eye-opener for each other. You try thinking that, put your mind in that way, put yourself in that mindset that this is the right way. You might suddenly understand where he's coming from. At least you want not agree with him, but at least understand it. Two questions on the same topic. Is it allowed to stop a woman in the street to ask her if she is Jewish for neshek, lulav, shofar, etc.? Is this what the Rebbe wanted from Bachrim? Next question. If we say Al Tiviyenu L'Dei Nisoyin, since we say Al Tiviyenu L'Dei Nisoyin, how can I be expected to go on Mitzvayim on the street asking people if they're Jewish, if I know on a practical level I will for sure be seeing things which I shouldn't be, or maybe I should never go on Mitzvayim. So when Mitzvayim, the whole concept of Mitzvayim, for today it's not the way it's supposed to be. A lot of it is, I would say, very, very good, but there's one issue which is not the way it's supposed to be, and that is that the original way that Baruch was supposed to go on Mitzvayim is that the Anhala would decide which Baruch goes where. A Baruch would not on his own make his own route and just raise it wherever he wants. And for this particular reason, regarding the first question, it's 100% wrong for a Baruch to do Mitzvayim with a woman no matter what. If a woman comes over to you and asks you a question, you have to be civil and polite and answer her questions. But for a Baruch to go and to reach out to a woman and try to do whatever mitzvah, even neshek and lulav and shofar, even those things, a Baruch should not be involved in that at all in an actual basis. You can be behind the scenes, making packages or giving it to your sister, to your mother to go give. But for you yourself to go on the street and approaching women, the Fiyah News Daiti is 100% wrong.
The age of a buffer, or once you're a shliach, it's okay, whatever.
For a shliach, it's also not the best thing, but for a shliach, it's different. But akopanim for a bacher, the way I understand it's 100% wrong. No bacher should be involved actively going with tzoyim for neshek and these kind of things. So you're looking for the Jewish patient. So you go into a room and there's a Jewish patient. So you blow shofar. You're not looking for. You're not reaching. If a woman stops you on the street on Rosh Hashanah and asks you to blow shofar, then you blow shofar 100%. But you're not actively going and approaching a woman. In the hospital, if there's a Jewish woman patient in a room, should you go into the room and blow shofar? That's a tougher question. In Svara, I would say it's more kal. It's more kal in Svara, but I would ask somebody first. Huh? It has to be a married person. Not a bacher shouldn't be involved. In the hospital, I see a svara why it's different. In the hospital, if a woman's in the hospital, and you know that there's a Jewish patient, a Jewish woman patient, and in this room, I would say to go to that room and blow shofar for her. In svara, I would say so. But maybe you should ask someone else before you ask another. But on the streets, for sure. What? I would ask someone else. I'm not sure myself.
So if you're doing Chanukah with Tzayim and you see a woman walks by,
should not approach. That's why I understand. Again, you can argue with me. I understand.
What if you're more than one bucket?
What?
What if you're like
No. No.
What's the difference if you see the lady or you talk?
Well, that's the second question. Regarding the Gufi Shel Dover, so if a bacher will be for sure seeing things, so that the solution is to go to places which are not places which are so princessly. You're going to say that everywhere is princessly, then how can you walk on the street Bechlal? Anywhere you're going to walk down the street, you also have problems. If you walk down the streets Bechlal, then you can also you can also walk to a place which is Lefiyerach, a kosher place, and just like you have to work on yourself, and you walk down a regular street, so you have to work on yourself up here as well.
You go to Muslim town.
Huh? There's no Jews over there.
What about a woman with her kids?
Oh, come on. It's not Shulchan Aruch. Abyssal comment says you have to understand that this is the general kav. The general kav is you don't put yourself in a place and you go to a place which are pashas to reasons are such a chash, and if you're taka such a bocher, then you walk down the street, you take your glasses and you cover your eyes and you don't look at anything, and that's you're always makbid on that. Then you're the chayr such a person because it's so hard for you. Then your miftayim should be in a different oifen. Your miftayim should be from far, should be from helping other people in a different kind of way in yeshiva. Huh? It's not. I want to say that when I was a Bach in 770, that Hava told me a rule that most of you probably never heard before, and probably today doesn't really apply for a negative reason. The rule was that a Bach should not walk on Kingston Avenue, you should walk on Albany Avenue. Today, I don't know if Albany is so much better, but that was the official rule of 770. When you're going from 770 to the lunchroom was on the Crown Street, Crown Street, about Yeshiva over there. So the rule was you have to walk on Albany and not walk on Kingston for these reasons. All right.